What's good? It's Woog. Merry Christmas. We've got Naoya Inoue, the monster, 31 wins and 0 losses, defending his WBC, IBF, and WBO against Alan Picasso. 32 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw. This is the latest fight from the great Naoya Inoue, and we're just seeing fight over fight. Does anybody have a real shot at beating this guy? Like, he's looking like a generational great. Both of these guys are undefeated, but one of these two guys is a generational great, and the other, we're still trying to figure out how good David Picasso is. We know that he's got a significant couple of wins. He's beaten Azat Hovhannisyan. Most recently, he beat Kameda. That was a good fight. But Naoya Inoue has now been the man in like a few different divisions, and he's been undisputed at 118 and 122. So again, we're now seeing this resume stack with better and better opponents. Like, Naoya Inoue has now beaten Nonito Donaire, Stephen Fulton, Luis Neri, MJ Akhmadaliev most recently, in a fight where Inoue didn't stop him. Like, MJ Akhmadaliev is one of the few guys, only 4 guys to go the distance with Inoue, but Inoue really boxed his butt off and showed that he was in a different class than MJ Akhmadaliev. So yeah, this guy's resume is starting to look fantastic, and this is his 4th fight of 2025. Like, if it wasn't for Terrence Crawford going up multiple divisions and doing what he did with Canelo Alvarez, Naoya Inoue would undoubtedly be fighter of the year. But we are giving so much weight to that accomplishment and becoming undisputed at 168 and then the retirement, that Terrence Crawford will almost undoubtedly be the fighter of 2025. But look, I wouldn't argue too hard with anybody saying that Naoya Inoue is truly the fighter of 2025. Like, look at what he's done. And if you look at Inoue versus Picasso, you're looking at Picasso's skill set. Is there anything that should give Inoue real problems? You know, Picasso's a good boxer, got a really good jab. He goes and he digs with the left hand to the body. He's pretty good defensively. He keeps his hands up. He's pretty good at controlling range. I mean, he's not a back foot fighter, but when you start to open up, he could take the step back, get out of range, and then start dictating the terms with his jab, and then getting back in range to let his punches go. And he's going to be a bit taller than Inoue. Like, Inoue's about 5'5". Picasso's about 5'8", so there's going to be a 3-inch height advantage for Picasso. And if you look at Inoue's last several opponents, all of these guys are like 5'5", 5'4", whether you're talking TJ Doheny, Ramon Cardenas, who did drop Inoue, Luis Neri, Marlon Tabales, Stephen Fulton was about 5'6". You'd have to go back to Nonito Donaire, who was about 5'7", to get somebody who's close to as tall as, Picasso. Now, maybe that height disadvantage will be something kind of new for Inoue, at least in recent years. He's also fighting a guy who's much younger than him. Picasso's only 25 years old. Inoue is now 32. And if you look at Picasso's height at 5'8", this could be a little bit of a primer for what is expected if Inoue is to beat Picasso, which would be Inoue versus Junto Nakatani, which much of the boxing world really wants to see. Like, I think that Nakatani, besides maybe Bam Rodriguez, but Bam would have to go up multiple divisions. I don't see that happening anytime very soon. So Junto Nakatani is kind of seen as being like, this is the guy who might do it, right? At least in this era before Inoue gets old. It might be Junto Nakatani, and Nakatani is a much taller fighter. So maybe Picasso is going to do something to prep Inoue for Nakatani if they do in fact make that fight, and if Inoue in fact beats Picasso. So there is that. Maybe there could be some intrigue in the height and reach advantage for Picasso. And also, maybe because Inoue is now coming off of a fight against MJ Akhmadaliev, and this is kind of seen as being a primer for a future Inoue versus Junto Nakatani fight, maybe he's lost focus and taken his eye off the ball just a little bit. Like, I mean, how can you not, to some degree, underestimate some opponent? Like, again, he just fought MJ Akhmadaliev and beat him via wide decision. He did get dropped by Cardenas, but then he stopped Cardenas in the 8th round. It's not like this one reached the championship rounds. And he's beaten TJ Doheny, Luis Neri, Marlon Tapales, Stephen Fulton. You know, you go back, he knocked out Jason Maloney, knocked out Emmanuel Rodriguez in 2 rounds. Like, this guy has just been running roughshod over the divisions that he's competing in. And obviously one of the most shocking performances was how badly he dominated Stephen Fulton. We thought that that was going to be, well, many of us thought that that was going to be a super competitive fight. It was not. So Inoue's just been shining. So I'm thinking maybe he could be underestimating or overlooking Picasso just a little bit here. Maybe, because truly that is really Picasso's only shot. Like, skill wise, like he's not as good as Inoue. He's good, but I really think that it's going to require Inoue not being his normal, usual, super sharp self. Like, Inoue's quicker than Picasso, heavier handed, sharper punches, higher IQ, even has more of a motor in terms of being able to fight hard throughout the whole fight and throw a lot of punches, a lot of hard, meaningful punches. Now, Picasso, again, he's good, but he's not Inoue good. I feel like that part is a little bit simple. Now, for Picasso to increase the likelihood that he has success, he's going to have to do what Cardenas did, which was to punch with Inoue. Like, Cardenas was letting that left hook just whip when Inoue was throwing punches. Now, to do so, you got to have some major cojones, because that's how you get hurt a lot sooner as well. Trying to throw with the monster. Good luck with that. But that might be Picasso's only shot, because I don't see his patient pressure being enough to really crack and break Inoue. Like, he's a pressure fighter, Picasso is, but he's not a head over skis guy. He's not like Rush. He's not Nick Ball coming in to take your head off with a lot of aggression. He is cutting the ring off well. He's marching you down. He's got, again, a really good jab. He'll throw the right to the body. And again, he'll go to the body with the left hook, and he'll start mixing in some real nice combinations. It's just that, and yes, he does keep his hands pretty high, but Inoue is such a sniper, such a sharpshooter, that if it turns into a boxer puncher style fight, I just see Inoue's punches having way more impact, way more often against Picasso than vice versa. But yeah, Picasso might have a decent start to this fight, but I see this one, by the time you get to the middle rounds, looking like Inoue starting to run away with it. Then it becomes a question of, well, how much longer could Picasso take this beating? I think that we are going to reach that by the time we hit the middle rounds. And I was talking about maybe the monster losing focus just a little bit, because this often happens when you've got a really good fighter, even if they're killing it, right? They fight somebody who's lesser than some of their other opponents, and they lose to that guy. Like Jaime Munguia getting knocked out when he got knocked out against Bruno Saras, which, you know, nobody really knew about Saras. Sometimes you get that. Like, nobody thought that, what's the guy, Rafael Espinosa was going to beat Robesi Ramirez. Sometimes, you know, a star is born by overachieving against somebody who's got the huge name. Like, we saw Marcos Maidana beat, he beat Adrian Broner, but years before that, he beat Victor Ortiz. That was really what put Marcos Maidana on the map. So we see this. I mean, look at what Sandor Martin, when he beat Mikey Garcia, he was like a plus 1,000 underdog. So again, this fight against Picasso, yes, Picasso's an undefeated, young, you know, flashy and popular fighter in Mexico, but this fight would probably be sandwiched between MJ Akhmadaliev and Junto Nakatani. So, you know, in college football, or in football, they call it a trap game, when you are the better team on paper, but maybe it was a road game on a short week after a high adrenaline, super meaningful game against like a divisional rival or something like that. Sometimes the game after that is the trap game on the road against a lesser team that, you know, maybe was able to stop the run or something like that, and you lose to that team. Maybe that could happen here, because people for a long time thought that MJ was the guy who might give Inoue problems. So Inoue beats him handily, and now he might be looking forward to fighting Junto Nakatani. So maybe something like that happens. I don't think this is going to be the case, though, because I feel like if something like that was going to happen, Inoue would have lost focus by now against one of these guys. Like, there's something to be said about these champions that show up every single time they get out there, whether they've got their best stuff, whether they don't have their best stuff, whether they are in a super favorable matchup or a matchup that might be tricky, they still find a way to win. You're talking Terrence Crawford, Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather, Joe Calzaghe, Naoya Inoue. He's one of these guys who just seems to be locked in and doesn't overlook or underestimate his opponent. So I think that he is going to be respectful of the occasion here. I don't think that he's going to be looking forward to Junto Nakatani, even if he's, answering questions in all these interviews about Junto Nakatani, Bam Rodriguez, all these other guys. I still feel like he is respecting David Picasso enough to treat this like it's a serious threat, the same way he's been treating all these other guys. But yeah, there's a little more intrigue right now because we've seen Naoya Inoue get dropped in 2 of his last few fights, like 2 out of his last 5 fights. He got dropped against Luis Neri and against Roman Cardenas, both times I believe by a left hook. And David Picasso does have a nice left hook, but I have seen since that Cardenas fight, like when he fought MJ, he kept that right hand high. Inoue did. He was very good defensively. I think, Picasso isn't a southpaw like MJ is, but I think that Inoue is going to be locked in defensively as well. And, Picasso might have a couple moments and he might even drop Inoue. I don't think he's going to drop Inoue, but he, might have some good moments, might win a round or two. But I think that Inoue is going to, look, I don't think that Inoue is going to struggle against Picasso like he did against Cardenas. I think that he's going to pretty much seize control of this one by like round 3 or 4. And then you've got the young Picasso who's been in some tough fights, like against Hovhannissian and against Kameda. Well, he's going to have a whole different level of resistance and difficulty here. So I just wonder how much of a beating Picasso is going to be willing to take against the monster. Like, the monster bears the responsibility of getting everybody's best shot, right? Because everybody who's going against Inoue is thinking, I can make history. I can literally make history and make a big splash, make my next payday my biggest payday if I could pull this off against the monster. Everybody takes that approach. But again, Inoue's got to answer for it every single time, and he does. I think he's going to answer for this one as well. And I think he's going to end up putting a beating on Picasso. And I think it's going to be up to Picasso's corner, the ref, and the doctors to exercise some humanity and hopefully stop this one before it gets too bad. But I think Inoue is going to end up putting a hurting on Picasso. We'll see if this is the trap game for the monster. I don't think it is. Even though there is some reason to think maybe, I don't think it is. I think Inoue stops Picasso sometime between like the 7th and 9th round. I think Picasso is going to hang in there for some time and have some decent success in the early rounds, but I think it's going to start getting bad for him in round 4 or 5. And I think he's going to get stopped somewhere between 7 and 9. I don't think this one reaches 10 through 12. Let me know your thoughts on the monster versus Picasso. If Inoue wins, do you think that they're going to put together Inoue versus Junto Nakatani? And do you think Nakatani has a really, really good shot at beating Inoue? Let me know your thoughts on all this. And do you think that Picasso has a decent chance at pulling off this upset here? Again, I don't. I've seen a few of his fights. I don't see what he has in his arsenal that Inoue hasn't seen before. But he is a good boxer, and he does have some power, not great power, but good power, good defense, puts his punches together pretty well, good jab, taller fighter. We'll see what he could do with the monster. But I think the monster is going to go monster on him, and he's going to beat him via stoppage. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, Happy New Year.